Guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel where we learn everything ethical hacking. So if you're just joining me, please do well to hit the subscribe button, and of course don't forget to share, likes and comment on my videos. And lastly, turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos as I upload them. So for today we'll be looking at Active Directory. So what's an Active Directory? So Active Directory is a database and a set of services that connect users with the network resources, right, that is required to carry out their daily activities. So let's take, for instance, you are a system operator in your organization and you need to onboard users to their respective departments. So this is where Active Directories comes in play because it helps you streamline these users to their respective department. Take, for instance, the finance department, the accounting department, the IT, the HR department. Active Directories helps you to put these individuals in their respective departments and of course set the permissions, the necessary permissions for them to ensure that no user have access to what they are not supposed to have access. You get? So that's just like saying every user will only have access to the resources that is made available to them, bringing about the principle of least privilege. So all right, so just sit tight, relax as I take you through the sprint. That. Okay, so first thing first, um we want to create a group, right? Let's create a group. A group can be just like as I explained earlier. We can have the administrative group, we can have the finance group, we can have the IT group, right? So before we now talk about creating users, before we now talk about giving those users permissions, right, to what they can do in that group. So that being said, so first thing first, to create group. To create group, we use sudo, right? Sudo group add is a command, group add group add, and now you type in the group we want to create. Let's start with admin, right? I'll just keep it here, admin, administrative, administrative. Okay, administrative. All right, that's good. So hit enter. Okay, so using my password, give the password. All right, so that should be it. All right, so we've created one group. Don't worry, I will show you how to see those groups. Next group we want to create, let's create the finance group, right? So like a department now, right? So same command, sudo group add uh, finance, right? Finance, hit enter. All right, so that's that for that. Another group, let's create the IT group, right? We'll say the tech group, right? So let's see, sudo group add, I can say tech. So we know that the tech group is the IT department, right? Okay, so we've created three groups now, right? We've created the first is an administrative group, second is the finance group, third is the tech group, right? All right, so let me leave it here. We can create different group. We can still create accounts group, right? Different based on your organization and based on what you want to achieve, right? So for now, let me limit it here to these three so I don't bore us, right? So we've created administrative group, created the finance group, and created the tech group. So take all these to be departments, right? So we've successfully created three departments, right? So the next thing we want to do now is we want to add users, right, to each of these departments, right? So we're going to onboard users into these various departments. Users for admin, we'll put them in admin. Users for finance, we'll put them in finance. And those for tech, we'll put them in tech, right? So to begin, let's start with the administrative. The command now to add user, to create user and add user to that department is sudo. So it's sudo do user add dash m. Dash m means we are giving the user home privilege, right? We've given that user the ability to be able to have access to the home directory. That's what the dash m switch does. It gives the user access to the home directory. Okay, so let's onboard the first user to the administrative department. Let's onboard John. So I'll just do, let's say John at admin, right? At admin. John at admin, this way, right? Hit enter. So we've added John to the admin department, right? The next thing we want to do is let's add, let's add rows to finance department. So we do sudo user add dash m home privilege, and I said we want to add who rows, right? Let's add rows at finance, right? So we are adding rows to the finance department. I'm just adding finance department so that we can be able to differentiate them, right? So you know who is who, right? So all right, finance department. So rows has been added, but in a work context, you might not necessarily need to specify or add the name of the group to the user. Every user knows their job role, they know what they were employed for, right? So during your onboarding, when you're trying to onboard them to the Active Directory, you just copy the username. Of course, it might come with their full name sometimes. You just add them directly to the group. So once they go to the group, they will see that they are on that particular group. So, but just so for the benefit of this lecture, I am adding the group to their names. All right, so the next is the tech group. So let's add a user. Let me see, who will I add now? What name? All right, let's say Jacob. The first was John. We added John to admin, and we added Rose to finance. Let's add Jacob. Let's add Jacob to the tech. Jacob doesn't sound like a tech name, but who cares? All right, so do sudo user add Jacob to tech group. Let's add Jacob. Trying to remember one hacker name now. Jacob at remember the department we created was tech, right? So we just say Jacob at tech, right? So I added Jacob to the tech department and I hit enter. All right, so I have successfully created departments, right? That's the groups now. I've created groups, and I've also successfully created users and added them to these respective groups, right? So the next thing we need to do now, all right, so let's view all the users that we've created first, right? Let's view all the users with home access. To do that, we'll just do ls to view all the users with home access, ls plus arrow and home. So all the users that have access to home, all the users with access, that with home access, you can see Jacob at tech, right? And you can see John at admin, right? And you can see Rose at finance, right? So these are the three users we created, right? You can see they all have home access, right? Okay, so now let's create password for each of these users, right? So to create password for each of these user, we do sudo pass wd p a s wd. So the or is, we are omitting the or. Please take note, spell the password. If this is how Linux work, when you want to give Linux a command that carries password, you don't type the password in full, you just do PASSWD, right? Space. Now you put in the name of the users that you want to put password, right? That you want to set password for. All right, so let's start with who's our first guy? Admin was John at admin, right? So let's set the permissions for John. Let's set permission for John at admin. John at admin, right? Hit enter. So new password. So which password should we give John for? Let's do John123. So JOHN123 is the default password we are setting down for that user. Retype the password on 123, right? Okay, password has been set. You can see password updated successfully, right, for that user. So this is the password we will give to our user when we are onboarding them. They can go ahead and rechange the password, right? But this is the password that is set from default. But just before I progress, let me bring something to our knowledge, right? There are two groups in Linux. there is a primary group and a secondary group. So primary groups are groups that are created upon installation of Kali. From the very beginning of our installation, right? Those groups that were created at that the initial state when we were doing our configuration and setting up of our machine, it's the primary group, right? But groups that we create subsequently after, right, they are all considered the secondary groups, right? All right, so we've been able to create so far we've been able to create groups, create users, and we've add them to their respective groups. The next thing now we are doing, we are giving these users password, right? We're setting password for each of these users. So we've done that of admin. So let's move to very quickly, we move to the next user, which is finance. What's the name again? Finance, right? So we do sudo password space and rows at finance. She's in charge of our finance, right? Rows at finance this way, yes. And I'll still do rows 1, 2, 3, right? So I don't forget. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Very important, so I don't forget. Rows 1, 2, 3. Okay, password set successfully. So the last user I want to set now is Jacob at tech, right? So do sudo password Jacob at tech. Jacob at tech. Jacob at tech. Yep. And I'll do Jacob again. 1, 2, 3. Jacob 1, 2, 3 password. And please take note, when we are typing password in Linux, the password won't show. You hope you guys are aware. All right. So that's that. So we've been able to set password for all these users. So everything we've been doing is like you've not been seeing what we are doing. So now we want to see we'll issue a command now to see all the available groups. All right, and we'll issue another command again to see all the users, and also we'll see all the users and the groups they are, and also for the permission, that of the permission I will limit that to the next lesson, right? Okay, so just a quick explanation on what we have done so far. We created 3 groups, created 3 users. We've given these users password, right? What is left now is to add these users to their respective group. Don't be carried away when we were writing example Jacob at finance. I just want us so that we will know that okay, Jacob is from finance department. So the reason why I added their groups to the name was for easy identification of the user. When you see Jacob, you know that okay, Jacob belongs also department. But now let's move them there. But before we do that, I think I just need to open the groups that we have, and you see, or let me see these users. So you see, okay, to view these users, we do cat etc dash password, right? Cat etc. Remember your password. You're not typing it full PASSD, right? Like this. So we'll see all the users. Oh, interesting. So all right, let's see from the bottom. Follow me. You can see the 3 users. See the 3 users we just added, right? Jacob at tech, right? This is Jacob. You can see he has home access. Rose at finance. John at admin. These are just users, right? So this is the users we just created, right? All right, so the next thing we want to see, let me show us the groups, right? So for the group, to see the group, we do the same thing again. Cat etc. This time around, it's not password now, but group this week. We'll see all the available groups, right? Okay, so we see the administrative group is here, starting from this point. Administrative group, finance, and the tech group. All right, so now what we want to do now, we want to add these users to their respective group, right? Okay, so to begin, the command to do that is we do sudo user mode because we want to modify the user now, right? user mode. First person was Jacob at tech. I just pasted something at the terminal here so I can reference it. User mode Jacob at tech. So what we want to do now, we want to add these users that we've created and we've given password. We want to add them to their respective groups, right? All right, Jacob at tech. So we want to add Jacob now to the tech group. Jacob at tech. The next thing we need to specify now is the -a switch, which is to add, right? And dash capital G is a switch also, which indicates secondary group, right? Remember I told us secondary, the difference between secondary and primary group, right? So the next thing you want to indicate now is the group, right? So the group name is, so we just change the tech here to cap log, right? Like this, and that's that. So we've added Jacob at tech to the tech group. So the next person we want to add now, I think it's Rose at finance. Yes, so we are adding Rose user mode, I beg your pardon, uh user mode, Rose at tech, Rose at finance, Rose at finance, Rose finance to the finance department. -a to add, capital G to specify the group, which is the secondary group, and the name of the group. So here we are. Okay, that's done. So the last person was John admin, right? So just replicate same thing and quickly edit this. John at admin. This was his name, to the admin department. So if we want to see the groups now, do it this way. Now please take note of something. See this. You see, for the administrative group, you see John has been added to the admin group. You can see John at the front here. He's a member of this group. You see the finance group now. You see who's at the front. Rose has been added to the finance. Can you see? Tech. You can see for the tech department, Jacob has also been added. So we've been able to do this now. So the next thing we want to do is let's do a long list here. Let me see what we have here. ls-l is a long list in total. Okay, I don't have any files here. Okay, let me create a file quickly and just do cat drum.txt, and I will just append something inside abcd and leave it there, right? So I'm just creating a file here, right? Let's see who have access to this file. I'm trying to see who have access to the files that we have created. So we created a file here, drum.txt. So we'll do a long listing to see who have access. So the owner of this file, you can see the owner of this file is Kali, right? And the group is Kali. First is the user, second is the group. Remember, we were logged in as Kali user, right? But now we've created other users, right? So now we can switch to each of these users. But now, for now, this particular file was created by Kali, and inside the Kali group, you can see the Kali here, right? You can see the Kali here. Okay, so let's change ownership of this file to our guy in tech. So to do that, let's do sudo. I think that's what we are trying to achieve. And since we're already in the directory, we'll just specify the name of the file, drum.txt, right? That should work. All right. So when we do a long listing again, we should see that the owner of that file has changed. Can you see? It's tech, meaning Jacob as a user can decide to limit people from viewing this file. You will see the file, but you can't open it. When you try to cut this file, the next thing you will hear is that you don't have permission, right, to view this. So now the person that have the ability to modify this file now is Jacob at tech, right? Jacob. So Jacob can modify this file, for instance, now, and he can change the permission of this file. He can change it to just read alone. He can even disable read permission, meaning you won't be able to read it. So he can put the read but take out the execute or modify, right? So by modify the modified permission, you won't be able to edit the file, right? It will tell you that you don't have permission, right? So let me just explain what we did here. We created this file. Remember, we are logged in as Kali, right, from the onset, right? We have not yet signed in as Jacob. If we want to do switch user, you know, it's sudo su, right? Change user, right? Now you specify the user you want to change to. If it is Jacob at, you put your Jacob, right? That's how you switch user now. So if we switch user to Jacob, anything we are doing is done as Jacob. But now we are still signing as Kali. So meaning if we create any file inside this place now, that file name, the person, it will tell you that the creator of that file is who? Is Kali. Because if we do who am I here, right here now, you will see we are Kali. Reason is because we have not although we have created users, but we have not switched to those users. All right, now, but for the files that Kali created, for instance, now we changed the ownership of the file. This was what we just did now, right? We changed the ownership of this particular file, drum.txt, which initially was belonged to Kali. I just want you guys to follow me, right? But for proof of concept, and just so I don't leave some persons behind, I will repeat this step again. So I will just quickly remove this. Let me remove this completely. You can see now, remove right protected regular file drum.txt. So we don't have the right. All right, but let me use sudo to remove it. See, sudo remove drum.txt. Okay, so that is out. So when I do an ls now, this place is empty. So now I'll just cut a file again, for instance, right? Let's call that file orange, right? Orange.txt. Okay, now the creator of this file, you can decide to write anything inside. So the creator of that particular file, if we do, is Kali. To see that, we just do a long list in ls-l, right, created by Kali, and the group Kali. Can you see on March and the date, right? But now we want to change the ownership of this file. We're taking the ownership of this file from Kali and we're giving it to Jacob at tech, for instance, right? So that brought us to the command sudo change ownership, chown, right? Change ownership, and we say Jacob at tech, and we enter the name of the file, right? Which is orange at txt, right? Now we hit enter. Now if I do a long listing here again, you see now that the ownership of this file has changed, right? The owner has changed, but the group is still Kali group. And from the beginning, when we were doing this creation, we created groups, which we created admin, tech, finance, and now we created users, and we added those users to their respective groups, right? Now, a particular file, for instance, we created a file. The Kali user created this particular file, and now we change the ownership of that file to Jacob, but the group is still Kali group, meaning everybody that is in Kali group have access to this, can access this file, even though we only change the ownership of the file, but the group, I don't know if you understand. If we have 10 persons in tech department, 10 persons working in tech department, right? And the initial file, the owner of the file was from admin, and they said, okay, we are giving this file now to the head of the tech team, right? Automatically, everybody in that tech team now has access to that file, even though the file is being handed over to somebody, right? Somebody is in charge of that file. The person can decide to say, okay, no, I don't want people to view this file. I want you to be able to write and comment on this file, right? So the person now, Jacob, has the ability now to do an undo on that file now, because he's the new owner. But whatsoever Jacob do on that file now, these people in this Kali group have access. They can also view it, except Jacob set the permission to don't view it. Now let's change the group now
from Kali to tech group. All right, so that the file now only the people in the tech group will be able to see that file. So to change that now, right, we do sudo excuse me, change group, change group grp, right, sudo change group. And now what's the name of the excuse me, what's the name of the the group we want to change? We want tech. This is the group. What's the name of the file we want to change to? What's the name of that file again? orange.txt. Now we are changing the group from Kali group to tech group, and I hit enter. So that's done. If I do a long listing now, ls-l, you can see now, you can see Jacob, and the user, the owner of this file is Jacob, and the group that file belong to is now tech group, meaning every member of tech group have access to this file based on the permissions that are on that file. The members can decide, they can have, some members can have permission to even delete, to modify, to comment. Some can only have permission to read alone, and some might not even be able to see it again. So it all depends on creating users and giving them the permission to do who do what and who doesn't do the other. I know the lesson is quite lengthy and a bit complicated, but it's not complicated. Trust me, it's not bigger than you, right? Okay.
All right, so with that being said, we've come to the end of today's lesson. If you're just joining me, please do well to hit the like button, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you all in my next video.